A single bug can compromise an entire project management platform used by thousands of developers. Meet CVE-2025-62368, a critical remote code execution vulnerability that just surfaced in Taiga, the open-source project management system trusted by teams worldwide. The flaw? Unsafe deserialization of untrusted data inside the Taiga API. In simple terms, Taiga isn't just another tool for developers. It's an agile project management platform, used for sprint planning, issue tracking, Kanban boards, and more. It's popular with open-source projects, startups, and organizations that prefer self-hosting. They're tools rather than relying on cloud-based services like Jira or Trello. Because it's open source, anyone can deploy it on their own servers. But that freedom comes with responsibility, especially when security flaws emerge. When a remote code execution vulnerability appears in a self-hosted tool like this, the risk isn't abstract. It means attackers could potentially run arbitrary commands on your project management server, commands that could steal data, inject backdoors, or pivot into internal networks. Let's break down the root cause: unsafe deserialization. Serialization is a process where data is converted into a format that can be stored or transmitted, like JSON, Pickle, or YAML. Deserialization is the reverse, taking that data and reconstructing it into usable objects. Now here's where things go wrong. If a web application blindly trusts serialized input from users, it opens the door for attackers to craft malicious payloads that, when deserialized, execute arbitrary code. In Taiga's case, the API failed to properly sanitize untrusted data during deserialization. This means that if an attacker could interact with the vulnerable API endpoint, they might inject serialized objects designed to execute system-level commands on the Taiga backend. That's remote code execution, one of the most severe types of security flaws. The vulnerability, tracked as CVE-2025-62368, affects all Taiga versions up to 6.8.3. It was disclosed by a security researcher using the handle rootjog, and it has been patched in version 6.9.0. According to the GitHub advisory, the vulnerability stems from unsafe deserialization of untrusted data in the API layer. This can lead directly to remote code execution without authentication in some configurations, depending on how the API is exposed. Think of it like this: if your Taiga server is public-facing and not behind a firewall, an attacker could exploit this bug remotely, without needing valid credentials. Even if the API is internal, a compromised user account or insider threat could trigger the same exploit. This isn't just a bug, it's a potential entry point for total compromise. Let's imagine what an attacker could do if they gained remote code execution through this flaw. They could exfiltrate sensitive data, including private project plans and issue reports. They could steal authentication tokens, passwords, or API keys stored on the system. Modify or delete entire project repositories. Install malware or cryptominers. Or even use the compromised server as a pivot point to infiltrate other internal systems. Because Taiga often integrates with tools like GitLab, Jenkins, or Docker, a single exploit could cascade across a whole development ecosystem. And here's the dangerous part: RCE vulnerabilities can be automated. Once proof-of-concept exploits are published, attackers often build mass scanners to locate and compromise unpatched servers worldwide within hours. If your Taiga instance hasn't been updated yet, it's not a question of if someone will find it. It's when. Before we continue, a quick reminder. If you care about staying ahead of critical vulnerabilities like this one, hit that like button, subscribe, and share Infosec Now with your team. It genuinely helps YouTube recommend our videos to more people who care about cyber awareness and open source security. Alright, back to the deep dive. The good news: the Taiga team acted fast. The issue is fully patched in version 6.9.0, which introduces safer handling of deserialization in the API. If you're running Taiga version 6.8.3 or earlier, you should 1. Upgrade immediately to version 6.9.0 or later. 2. Restart your Taiga services after upgrading to ensure all components are patched. 3. Audit your system logs for any suspicious API activity. 4. If your Taiga instance is exposed to the internet, consider rotating all credentials and tokens, since compromise can't always be detected easily. You can find the official security advisory on GitHub under Taigao/Taigaback. Advisory G CPCF 9276 FWC5. Even if you're using a Dockerized deployment, ensure your image has been rebuilt from the latest release tag. Older containers remain vulnerable. This vulnerability isn't unique to Taiga. Unsafe deserialization has haunted web applications for years. Languages like Python, Java, and PHP all have serialization mechanisms that, if misused, can lead to catastrophic exploits. In Python's case, for instance, the pickle module can execute arbitrary code during deserialization, making it a favorite target for attackers. Many developers assume serialized data will only ever come from trusted sources. But in web apps, attackers control inputs, and when those inputs get deserialized, it's game over. That's why modern frameworks and security experts always recommend avoiding direct deserialization of untrusted data, using safer formats like JSON for simple data exchange, and implementing strict input validation and sandboxing. CVE-2025-62368 is a textbook example of how small mistakes in input handling can have massive consequences. If your organization uses open-source software, you're part of a growing ecosystem that thrives on transparency. But that also means patching fast when vulnerabilities are discovered. Keep your Taiga installation updated, monitor advisories, and never underestimate the impact of a single unchecked input field. Because in cybersecurity, sometimes the difference between control and compromise is just one line of code. Stay aware, stay updated, and as always, thanks for watching Infosec Now.